right after I went back to school in the 9th grade, because I was reading a country music song roundup inside of my history book, and the history teacher came up and said, if you'd get your mind.
Marty Stuart, 66, finally revealed what had quietly affected his life for decades. It wasn't about music agreements, Grammys, or his rise to fame. It was something considerably more personal, the truth about his lengthy friendship with country legend Connie Smith. The revelation stunned many people, not because it was dramatic, but because it fundamentally altered the public's perception of their relationship. For years, audiences admired them as a couple. What they didn't realize was how long that love had been developing, or how far back the narrative actually went. While the public saw a great singer at the pinnacle of his career, Marty had quietly carried a passion that began when he was 12 years old. At a time when other children were still discovering who they were, he had already decided who he wanted to spend his life with. Connie Smith, already a celebrity when they met, had no idea that a young fan in the audience would one day become her husband. Their love did not develop in public. It was not based on headlines or hype. It was a slow-burning story about admiration, patience, and determination. Now that Marty Stuart has finally opened up about the route that led them together, their story stands out as one of the most remarkable romances in country music history. It serves as a reminder that love does not always seek attention. It waits silently till the time is right. The story begins in the summer of 1970 in Philadelphia, Mississippi. Marty Stuart was 12 years old and already enamored by music, but he was especially captivated by one voice in particular, Connie Smith's. She was already a seasoned artist, a country music chart topper known for her emotive delivery and recognizable stage presence. Marty's mother was a fan too. Connie's recordings played frequently in their home, filling the air with tunes that had an impact on the young kid. Marty knew he had to be present when Connie came to perform at the county fair. He made an effort to stand out, hoping she would notice him among the crowd. But what transpired that day was way beyond admiration. Something stirred inside him as he watched her on stage. It provided more than simply musical inspiration. It was a quiet, intimate resolution. While others may have seen it as a young fan seeing a great performer, Marty felt the event deeply. It became a watershed moment, an unspoken promise he would keep throughout his life. He did not pursue her, nor did he overtly express his feelings, but inwardly, something had changed. He had glimpsed his future, and it included her. Nobody around him could have guessed what that concert would imply, and Connie Smith had no idea that the boy in the crowd, who stood calmly and watched her every move, would one day become her spouse. Marty Stuart was enjoying a life that few teenagers could have imagined long before he became a celebrity. Raised in Philadelphia, Mississippi, he was drawn to music at a young age, particularly the traditional sounds of country, gospel, and bluegrass. His inherent talent was more than just amazing, it was evident. By the age of 12, he was already playing mandolin with professional musicians and garnering the respect of seasoned performers much older than him. Marty got his first real break thanks to a family friend. A link led to an offer to perform with bluegrass artist Lester Flatt, whose legacy dates back to the genre's golden period. What started as a one-time opportunity suddenly became a full-time position. Marty joined Flatt's band and began touring the country, performing in various places. While most of his peers were still in middle school, Marty was learning the ropes of the music business firsthand, on tour buses, backstage, and under stage lights. Marty continued his career after Flatt retired in 1978. He kept moving forward. He made his first independent album and worked with renowned musicians such as Vassar Clements and Doc Watson. Another watershed moment occurred in 1980 when he joined Johnny Cash's band, confirming his role as a rising star in country music. Even as he worked with luminaries and established his own fame, something remained constant in the background. The memory of Connie Smith lingered, not as a fantasy, but as a gentle presence influencing the man he was becoming. While Marty Stuart carved his way through the heart of country music, Connie Smith had already established herself among the greats. Her ascension was quick and impressive. Her voice drew the attention of both fans and industry veterans when she first appeared on the scene in the 1960s. It wasn't simply her vocal ability that made her memorable. It was the emotional clarity, the soul in every note. Her debut single topped the Billboard country charts for 8 weeks in a row, a record at the time. With each subsequent release, she solidified her position as one of the genre's most renowned female vocalists. She had a distinct voice that combined conventional country and gospel influences, and her albums were constantly commercially and critically successful. Even at the height of her popularity, Connie Smith was never motivated by celebrity. While others pursued industry trends and chart rankings, she remained grounded in sincerity. Her concentration was on the music and the message, not the show. As the 1970s progressed, Connie made a decision that surprised many. She turned away from the spotlight, valuing her children, faith, and peace of mind over public fame. She briefly dropped out of the mainstream music scene. Her influence endured even as the world adopted new voices and sounds. Marty Stuart's voice never stopped reverberating. Despite her quiet, she remained the artist he admired the most. Marty Stuart and Connie Smith met again after years apart, but it wasn't by chance. Music drew them back together. Their reunion occurred at a music event when they reconnected as peers rather than fans and idols. What began as small discussion turned into a creative collaboration. They met again at the Grand Ole Opry, and shortly after, Connie urged Marty to collaborate on a project. That single invitation signaled the start of something deeper. They began writing songs together, lots of them. With each session, a natural rhythm developed between them. It wasn't just about the harmonies or the lyrics. It was how their creative impulses came together. Their connection developed quietly and organically, away from cameras and attention. The music served as a bridge, and something deeply moving began to emerge from those shared tunes. Marty Stuart's emotions grew in tandem with their musical collaboration. What had begun as adoration in his adolescence had grown into something much more serious. He looked forward to each meeting with Connie Smith, not just for the work, but also for the peace she brought. Her wisdom, humor, and calm strength stayed with him long after the music had ceased. Despite their burgeoning relationship, Marty held back. He was unsure how Connie would react. There was an age disparity, the long history, her previous heartbreak. He remained mute for a while, unsure whether the timing was ever appropriate. Then, one day, everything changed. They encountered each other outside a grocery shop, away from studios and stages. The moment felt different. Marty finally revealed what he had been keeping hidden for decades. Not in spectacular words, but in action. Something basic and obvious. That day was a tipping point. For Connie, it was unexpected. She had not been looking for love, but at that calm moment, she saw Marty not as the youngster from the past or the artist from the charts, but as the guy standing in front of her now, confident, grounded, and genuine. Their romance did not go public immediately away. There were no declarations, no headlines, just a gradual, consistent adjustment in how they perceived one another. It was not showy or unexpected. Patience influenced the beginning, which was founded on presence rather than performance. Even when Marty Stuart and Connie Smith developed a covert friendship, she hesitated. She was accustomed with both love and disappointment. Connie had already led a full and often challenging life before Marty moved forward. She'd been through enough grief to be careful and enough progress to be discriminating. Her amorous history included 4 marriages, each with their own beginning and finish. Her first husband was the father of her son. Her second was a member of her touring band. Her third marriage lasted almost 2 decades and produced 3 daughters. Even so, it ended with tiredness rather than scandal or rage. The weight of expectations, motherhood, stardom, and emotional labor had worn her down. After her 4th marriage ended, she discreetly decided she was done with romance entirely. The attention may have dimmed, but the emotional weight remained. She turned to faith and discovered consolation in simplicity. Music remained a part of her life, although not as a profession. It was something holy, revealed only when her spirit prompted her. So when Marty reappeared in the frame, this time as a man rather than a fan, something strange happened. He wasn't attempting to win her. He was not chasing her. He simply stood beside her. She still questioned it. 17 years younger, he knew her work before he knew himself. Could this truly be love, or is it just a long-held fantasy? But Marty did not press. He understood her hesitancy. He let the friendship to evolve naturally, with no demands or promises. Her guard gradually softened, not because he persisted, but because he let her to make her own decisions. And in that independence, Connie discovered something unexpected: tranquility. Not the big sweeping type, but the quiet consolation that perhaps this time she didn't have to do everything alone. When Connie Smith eventually said yes to Marty Stuart, it wasn't the beginning of a spectacle, but rather the conclusion of something extremely personal. Their wedding occurred on July 8, 1997. It was modest, private, and mostly overlooked by the industry. There were no flashing cameras, no red carpet, and no public celebrations. Just two people quietly selecting each other. However, as the news broke, reactions were immediate. People were not surprised that Marty had married. What drew attention was who he wedded. Connie was older, and in a world where age discrepancies were typically in the opposite direction, their coupling sparked rumors. Some questioned their motivations, others questioned whether it would last, and many couldn't help but focus on the 17-year gap, as if it characterized their relationship. None of this mattered to Marty and Connie, however. They had spent years cultivating trust through silence. They understood exactly what they were getting into before they exchanged vows. Their connection had been gradually created, shaped by respect and lived experience, rather than out of impulsive or convenient actions. They did not provide explanations or chase headlines. They simply lived. Marty continued to work in music preservation and performance. Connie stayed committed to her faith, family, and peace. People failed to grasp that their love had never required the public's consent. It had already established itself in the peaceful moments building up to that day, and for them, that was enough. Following the small ceremony, Marty Stuart and Connie Smith embarked on a life that was unlike any other country music marriage. There were no glamorous reality programs or contrived duets designed to capitalize on their union. They did not rush to release collaborative albums or gain notoriety as a power couple. Instead, they chose a simpler existence based on shared values, strong faith, and genuine respect. They moved into their home in Hendersonville, Tennessee, which immediately became a sanctuary and archive. Marty saw the mansion as more than just a place to live. It became the focal point of his lifelong endeavor to preserve country music's heritage. Over the years, he filled it with rare memorabilia such as rhinestone costumes, handwritten songs, and treasures from the golden period of country music. Connie supported that passion, not by being in the spotlight, but by assisting in the preservation of the integrity of what they were safeguarding. Their daily lives were not shaped by tour schedules or industry activities. It was slower, more deliberate. Connie, who had spent years in the public eye, liked the stillness. She continued to sing only when she felt inspired, never out of necessity. Marty, despite his continuous profession, never encouraged her to return to the forefront or recapture her previous renown. He respected her pace. Faith was fundamental to their family life. It influenced their decisions, communication, and vision for marriage. Rather than trying to conform to public standards, they prioritized their private lives. Family gatherings, peaceful meals, and time spent creating rather than performing defined the rhythm of their lives. Marty's motivation was more than just achieving a boyhood fantasy. It was about being the kind of man deserving of the affection he had longed for. Connie wasn't looking for another relationship. It was about learning that trust might be re-established via presence rather than promises. Together, they formed something unique in the realm of celebrity, a love that did not seek attention but quietly endured the test of time. Marty Stuart and Connie Smith had a legacy that went well beyond music. It's not just about the songs they composed, the albums they made, or the prizes they won. It's about how they lived, with patience, purpose, and quiet dedication that never sought approval. In the years after their marriage, they did not seek relevance. They embraced authenticity. Connie returned to recording only when she felt ready, releasing songs on her own terms and under Marty's careful direction in the studio. Her voice, unspoiled by time, possessed new depth and clarity. It was never about reliving the past. It was about acknowledging the truth of who she had become. Marty remained a staunch champion for the preservation of authentic country music. His efforts extended beyond performance. He worked relentlessly to preserve the genre's history for future generations. However, Connie was always at the center of his world. Their story is a quiet protest against the roar of modern stardom. They demonstrated what it meant to establish something genuine in an industry frequently defined by quick love and broken promises. Not too loud, not rushed, simply lasting. What started as a boyhood admiration evolved into a friendship that exceeded expectations. The globe witnessed an age gap. They watched a lifelong dream realized, and in each other, they discovered something no chart, stage, or critic could ever quantify: tranquility. If this story moved you, please share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more genuine stories of country music's most recognizable legends.